the Everett City Council is going to have to decide whether to pay to have the Aquasox stay or do nothing and let them go. So the vote will be on December 18th. The council will vote on whether to renovate Funko Field. Okay, we're talking about Modesto Nuts, Funko Field. I mean, these names are just priceless. Anyway, but they need to comply with the new MLB stadium requirements or build an entirely new ballpark or do nothing. And if Everett does nothing to improve Funko Field, the Aquasox will likely have to move to another town. So Chef looked into how much these renovations would be. It would cost between $70 and $75 million for renovations. A new stadium would cost anywhere over $100 to up to $130 million. And then 20 businesses would also have to be shut down for this new stadium. Mayor Cassie Franklin spoke with King 5 News last month and says building a new stadium is a must. And the Herald reports that the Everett would be able to raise all but about $30 million for without having to rely on new taxes, essentially, or using general fund cash. So they would have other means to get the money used. I'm just curious, do people even care about these minor league teams anymore? Do they have the draw that they once did?
I think they do. I mean, I think they actually do go. I mean, the games are popular, and for a lot of folks, especially if you don't live in Seattle, if you want to see, and remember, because people are not just going there to see the minor league club. Sometimes they're going to see an injury rehab assignment from a major league player who is down there. That's when we used to show up at the Modesto A's games when I was a kid, when Jose Canseco showed up once. People still talk about it. He hit a home run that I think is still traveling. But so there, I think there is some level, and it's much less expensive than going to a game.
This is true.
Even though Major League Baseball is among the professional sports about the cheapest one to attend a game and get a beer and things like that. However, I am not a fan of publicly financed stadiums for private business. And that is exactly what is happening in Everett. That is what happened here. The massive controversy over what was Safeco Field, now T-Mobile Park. It was like the voters didn't want it to happen, and it still went through. And it spent a decade as the most expensive stadium in North America, not just the most expensive stadium in baseball. Like it was a boondoggle from the very beginning. It's a beautiful stadium. I like it. It's great. And it probably generates a measure of tax revenue, although I don't think it still has paid for itself. I don't think the city of Everett should, and I don't think that the average Major League Baseball franchise is valued at about $2.5 billion. And I'm not convinced that billionaire owners need us donating to build effectively their workplace. Okay, I'm not a fan.
In the case of, so I hear you loud and clear. So you're all in favor of keeping these minor league teams. However, it shouldn't be done on the public dollar. So in this case, it said $31 million would be the only thing, investment from the public, which, okay, that's a chunk of change.
Yes. That's a big chunk of change when Everett, in this budget session, just cut their library budget by about a fifth. They cut their parks department. A lot of their services, like they're trimming the fat on everything, and they're saying, let's dump $30 billion into this. And they can get money from some bonding from the state, money from the county. They can raise some private money, etc. Just a quick note, the money from the state that would be going to this ballpark was taken out of the Children's Youth Athletic Field Fund that the state has. It was a one-time pot of cash that came from the Seattle Mariners. There was a cost underrun, I believe, on the building of the stadium. So they gave that back to the state and said, okay, this is going to go for kids' ballparks, kids' playfields around the state. They sucked all the money out of that fund, and they're going to give it to Tacoma for the Rainiers. They're going to give it to Spokane for the Indians. They're going to give it to Everett for the Aquasox. So literally, we're taking money away from kids' playfields to build ballparks.
That seems weird.
For new Major League Baseball requirements for minor league owners.
And remember,
yeah, that seems short-sighted.
The key point in that is Major League Baseball passed down these requirements unilaterally. Wasn't like this was put to a vote of the public in any of these towns. They've essentially said, we are taking our toys and we're going home unless you buy us more expensive toys.
And do you know why we have to build the ballparks? Because if we do not improve them, then the owners of the minor league teams will accrue thousands and thousands of dollars of fines from Major League Baseball, which I don't know why that's a concern of mine.
Yeah, and by the way, is the MLB hurting for money? I mean, so basically they're saying these mandated changes would include you have to have a larger clubhouse, you have to renovate the locker rooms, field lighting improvements, an area for female staffers. Okay, that
Major
shouldn't
League
cost a lot.
Baseball, the Mets just signed one player.
Yes.
For $750 million.
so-
guaranteed money over his contract, Juan Soto, who the Mariners
player.
talked to briefly and then realized that the Mets were going to pay everything to have this player. And this is an organization that wants to make the city of Everett, not a city doing like rolling in dough,
Exactly.
or the city of Modesto, even less so, spend millions of dollars for their stadium, not for a stadium that the city owns, for their
So
stadium.
again, it's almost like holding them hostage.
Absolutely not. Move.
Tacoma
Go away.
also facing budget shortfall. Same with Spokane. Spokane Indians, by the way, their owner just sold the team because, hey, you know what? It's worth more now that we're getting this nice new free stadium from the state.
Right.
And Spokane taxpayers.
Yep.
Okay, so the question is, are you willing to say bye to these teams?
Yes.
Yes, I love
100%.
Aquasox games. I prefer going to the Aquasox than going down to T-Mobile Park.
But you're willing to, as long as you're talking
Absolutely.
about
You know
public
what? I'll go to Lindale Park in Linwood and I'll go watch Little League.
This
Yeah, why
is
take
an
away from
outgrowth.
child sports programs?
This is an outgrowth of the many years that publicly financed stadiums existed, and now we've turned. The worm has turned a bit. People, except for dummies in Atlanta, people have stopped using public money for private facilities. If they're using that, if they're making us pay for, I don't know, Lumen Field or something like that, I should be able to go out there anytime it's not being used for an event. I should be able to hang out and picnic on the 50-yard line if I help pay for that.
Not
but
to
I
mention,
can't.
Okay,
not to mention the fact, like, they're saying we're going to take one business owner, minor league baseball team, and we're going to destroy 20 other business.
That's not cool either.